The following is a transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. 30th January 2021. Organism. Me. If I could see anything in this month of Capricorn, it is how everything is perfectly structured in the universe, even if it seems chaotic. Each step we took showed me the importance of schemes, structures, patterns, and how they are not there to limit us, but to sustain us and accompany us on the path of creation. Without limits, infinity could not be experienced. Without limits, it could not be observed. Without reflection, it could not be understood. Without the structures, I could not build. Without laws, there would be no order. Without schemes, I would be lost. Without foundation, there is no future. Without patterns, there would be no tools. The feeling of freedom, then, does not occur in being free of structures, but in knowing how to use them. I am. The key to Capricorn through time and space, beyond the constellation, is the idea of constancy. Etymologically, its value is to manage to stay all together in the same place. Con, which equals altogether, stantia, which equals quality of being in one place. Psychologically, constancy implies the ability to sustain an action or project over time. This quality is typical of the earth signs because it speaks of the cycles that things need to occur, adapting to different circumstances. Constancy implies patience, work, understanding that all things, to be, need a process, and it is eternal and cyclical. Constancy is the physical quality of the manifested universe, which reflects the individual's potential to adapt and readapt, to evolve, knowing that nothing ever stops, that everything advances, and that death is not even a true end when you dare to transcend it. It may be hard to observe the universe from the eyes of constant programming, but the truth is that it is the idea of planning that allowed the universe to exist. Me. Yes, that's what I feel. Recognize that the cosmos itself is only an idea. It is mind expanding freely in infinity, and that to recognize, know, manifest, enjoy, feel, live, it needed to limit itself in order to experience its potentials, which it would never have identified without fragmenting, schematizing, tracing patterns in an immense and flexible matrix of vertices and edges that when interacting allow creation, art, soul technology. It's a perfect mechanism, a pattern of potential. It is wonderful that something so limiting makes us so free. I am. Coherence is the key to being a manifesting creator, and coherence is only achieved by being on one axis, which implies order, structure, patterns, laws. And it is only because of this that one finds the cosmos and allows themselves to be flexible in creating, using it as instruments. Me. That's the key to practicality, the instruments. I am. Practical comes from praxis, which means to act, to carry out an action, which comes from the Greek prasein, to carry, to bring. It represents the body and its ability to manipulate patterns, to carry them and bring them, creating a kind of active network that, said redundantly, interacts. Me. And what does it manipulate? I am. Instruments, tools, patterns. An instrument is what is found in a structure, and it comes from the same root, struere. If building means putting everything piled up in one place, the word instrument refers to that which is piled up. He thinks, then, that for an atom to exist, 3 particles must be piled up, electron, neutron, and proton, with which these particles are the 3 instruments of a construction called atom. For a molecule, the instruments will be atoms. For a chemical compound, molecules will be the instruments. And for an element, compounds will be its instruments. Thus, life is the construction of the instruments that you call chemical elements, which make up cells, which will become instruments of living tissues, forming bodies. And in a group, a family, its parents, children, and grandparents will be the instruments that compose it, as individuals are the instruments of a culture and society. The instruments are the parts of the expansion that are grouped, discovering potentials different from the universe, and how to achieve this they do so by affinity, by resonance, by vibration, energy, exchange of substances, interaction in praxis, evolutionary experience. And as you will see, this praxis would not have been possible if the elements, the instruments, did not follow certain rules, certain laws, certain patterns, schemes, structures, planning. Me. I understand. It often happens that from our human point of view, we forget that we are composed of a free cosmos that has decided to manifest. It is difficult for us to understand that it is the same expansion of the universe that generated the feeling of limitation. And we consider that to find freedom, we must go outside instead of going inside. We do not know that laws and patterns are tools of freedom, not prison oppressors of the matrix. I am. When you understand this, you are free. Everyone who fights for the freedom of his soul, forgetting that it is free in the essence of what he considers a prison, will be fighting windmills created only in the perception of his limited mind. Me. That is to say that true freedom is so far within the limits that we never find it by trying to get away from them. I am. Know your limitations well. Recognize your patterns. Go back to the past. Recognize your heritages, your ancestral constructions, the laws that govern you. And when you have known them, remember that it is you who has generated them to make your existence possible to be who you are today. And there you will discover that if you want to be free of who you are, you only have to remember one simple truth. Everything that composes you are instruments of your consciousness. Me. Today you shared with me a message from Grandmother Margarita, who transcended a few days ago, and that I think sums this up. She said something like, "One is not free who lives through the stars, but who uses the stars to live," alluding to astrology. This made a lot of sense to me with what we have talked about this month, since from unconsciousness we let the outside world use us as tools, when it is we who have to use what is around as instruments of our freedom. I am. The stars are there. You can't do anything against them. Their gravitational force is much more powerful. Many more atoms compose them, and their weight drags and pushes yours. However, your solar wind can burn you, push you, drag you to destruction, or you can use mills and panels to generate power with its power. You will not control a star, but you can use it as a tree that instead of being consumed by light decides to feed on it. Me. Sure, it makes sense. I am. The cosmos is a huge compendium of instruments, and they all work in networks. For the network to work, for there to be flexibility and evolution, it is necessary to recognize each node as a tool, a means, an instrument of interaction, of interconnection. This is how the set of instruments makes up an organism. Me. What would an organism be? I am. It's the incessant interaction and movement of the instruments. Organ literally means instrument, tool, means to do something. The suffix ism means movement, activity. Humans usually call life as biological organisms, that is, instruments that interact in relation to what is known as life. And within this concept you find all the kingdoms of nature. Viruses, bacteria, fungi, algae, vegetables, insects, animals, and humans. Humans themselves call their society as a social organism, and all parts of their body as a physical organism. The truth is that organisms can be conceptual, philosophical, religious, political, economic, educational, scientific, biological, natural, cultural, stellar, cosmic, mental. For an organism simply describes different agents that interact in the form of a network in a way precisely organic. Me. It could be said that what they usually describe as, "we are instruments of God or the universe," is literally like that. This phrase often makes noise because it is usually interpreted as someone is manipulating me, and it is precisely what makes me believe that I am not free. I am. And do you know why? Because humans live from unconsciousness and its incoherence. Me. What does this mean? I am. When a being is unconscious, it lives by the distorted concept of polarity that you call duality. Like a pendulum, the forces on both sides drive you to move for what you believe to be opposites rather than complementary. This vision, instead of leading you to interaction, leads to contraction. That is, to make a contrary force, hoping to repel something, to take it away from you. This separates your body, soul, and spirit, leading them to a constant pressure of separation that prevents them from communicating and transmitting information to each other, which you call incoherence. And when a being is unconscious and incoherent, does not understand the intrinsic relationship between the internal and the external, cannot recognize the laws of the universe that govern his life, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, rhythm, cause-effect, polarity, and generation, and end up creating their own laws to supply the scarcity of coherence. This is how a human begins to use the world, not as an organic instrument, but as a tool of forced labor based on domination, control, manipulation, and slavery, ceasing to be organic. Me. And how does the universe do it? I am. The universe is coherent and conscious. That is, it self-references and interacts incessantly, as do the cells, the neurons in the nervous system. Nobody controls anyone. Everything interacts in full freedom. And the reason why this happens is because each cell, each small part of being is self-referential and brings out the best in itself. God, the universe, is a single being fragmented into millions, which uses itself as its own tool of self-knowledge. Human error is in believing that God is someone external, above all, because he considers that the universe is nothing more than his own projection of it. Me. Whoever manipulates sees the universe as a manipulator. I am. That's right. He who loves sees the universe as love. Whoever dreams sees him as a dreamer. Whoever makes music sees him as a musician. The chemist sees him as chemistry. The teacher sees him as a teacher. The artist sees him as art. The one who does not believe sees him as emptiness. The one who thinks sees him as a mind. The one who feels sees him as a heart. The one who acts sees him as action. Just as he who only believes in what he sees, the universe will be matter. Me. Because each of us is the same universe watching for ourselves. I am. That is why we are instruments not of a higher consciousness, but of our own expanded consciousness. Me. This vision makes me smile. I am. You discover then that the universe is an organic network of instruments used under laws that generate systems, structures, in order to understand, create, expand, discover. No easy story is worth reading or seeing on the big screen. It's all about discovering, uncovering the covered, seeing the mysteries. That is why the universe becomes more complex. And it does so much that the structures are precisely what help us not to get lost in the mandala, in the cosmic design. Me. A mandala is the perfect image to understand this, the beauty of expansion, freedom. To understand the magic of fractals is to understand that they exist thanks to matrices, patterns, paths, structures, systems. I am. You are your own instrument, and knowing your organism, you will know what you are capable of. Me, my biological, emotional, and mental organism, my family, cultural, and social organism, my planetary, cosmic, and divine organism. I am. We are instrumental movement of consciousness. Me. We are networks of dreams manifested in action. I am. And in the constancy of learning to use them, you become the creator of your own creation. Me. I am an instrument of my own divinity. I am. I use.